Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into something I like to call the lost art of the cash flash, and really exploring why physical currency still holds an immense amount of psychological weight. We live in a world of totally invisible digits right now. We're constantly swiping, tapping, and just watching balances shift on a screen like it's some sort of video game. But there is this primal, undeniable power to physical money that modern financial tech simply hasn't been able to digitize away. So today, we're going back to the old school tactics. We're going to look at the maneuvers used by our grandparents and those historical, street-smart hagglers to see exactly how holding a literal stack of bills can get you deals that a premium credit card literally never could.
Now let me ask you a question that might sound completely backwards at first glance. Why is $160 in your hand today actually worth more to a seller than $200 on layaway? I mean, basic arithmetic tells us 200 is obviously greater than 160. But here is the secret to all of this. Commerce absolutely does not run on basic arithmetic. It runs on risk, it runs on friction, and it runs heavily on the quiet psychology of the person standing right across from you.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that when you physically place this exact amount, $160, in hard cash, right on a counter, you are not just offering money. You're offering immediate liquidity, you're offering zero default risk. To a business owner, $200 that's promised on a Friday or placed on layaway is basically a ghost. It's a promise that could easily be broken by a sudden car repair or just a random change of heart. But $160 in hand, that is operational oxygen. It bypasses the entire administrative headache and gives that seller the immediate ability to cover payroll or restock shelves today. It completely collapses the timeline and just totally removes the space where doubt lives.
All right, here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the power of immediate cash, then look at everyday retail tricks, high stakes in services, and psychological closures. After that, we'll break down the credit card illusion, and finally, talk about reclaiming your power. Let's get into it. Okay, Section 1, the power of immediate cash. Certainty versus risk.
Before we hit the specific tricks, we really need to understand the economic foundation of cash leverage. In a world where uncertainty is pretty much the default, certainty is a premium commodity. And this brings us to a really fascinating foundational concept in behavioral economics known as the certainty effect. Basically, humans naturally overvalue an outcome that is 100% guaranteed, like cash in hand, over a potentially higher but merely probable future outcome. When you hand over physical cash, you are bypassing the entire financial middleman ecosystem in an instant. There are no pending statuses, no 2 to 3 business day holds, no interchange fees eating into the seller's margin, and absolutely no chargeback windows. You are handing the seller pure, unadulterated certainty. And trust me, smart sellers will absolutely share a portion of that recovered margin with you by giving you a discount.
Moving right along to Section 2, everyday retail tricks for moving inventory fast. To really grasp these tricks, we have to realize that retail inventory isn't just stuff sitting on a shelf. It's tied up capital, it's storage costs, and it's depreciation. So let's jump into our first 4 tactics. Trick number 1 is what we call the dented can discount. Historically, really smart buyers found slightly damaged but functionally perfect goods and just offered cash on the spot. By doing this, you're essentially providing a logistics service. You're recovering the seller's tied up capital. Trick 2 is the soup bones request. Back in the day, butchers had scraps they'd otherwise just throw away. A cash buyer would offer pennies on the dollar for these hidden byproducts, turning a seller's potential waste into immediate revenue. Then we have Trick 3, the off-season bulk deal. Think of those heavy winter coats sitting around in July. They're just collecting dust and eating up super expensive storage space. Offering cash for transitioning stock completely clears out that burden for the merchant. And Trick 4 is the floor model clearance. Display items get scuffed up, right? And they take up premium real estate in a store. A cash offer means immediate removal, freeing up space without the agonizing weight of a long markdown cycle.
Continuing with our retail tricks, number 5 is the exact change premium. Before we had digital registers doing all the math, exact change saved the seller the massive headache of balancing the till. Even today, offering exact bills trades that friction reduction for a nice little price adjustment. Trick 6 is cash-only market navigation. If you're at a flea market or a pop-up, cash gives you unmatched mobility. You aren't tethered to glitchy Wi-Fi or slow card terminals, which allows you to bundle items rapidly and close the deal fast. And number 7, the cash rebate bypass. Mail-in rebates are historically an administrative nightmare that, let's be honest, we all inevitably forget to mail in anyway. Smart buyers negotiate to absorb the rebate up front. You are trading the seller's administrative delay for immediate simplicity and effectively lowering the price right at the point of sale.
All right, Section 3, high stakes in services, where we look at bypassing the middleman. Now, the retail world is one thing, right? But when we shift our focus over to the B2B and service sectors, the leverage changes entirely. In this world, delayed payments and complicated invoicing software silently eat away at a professional's profits. Take Trick 8, for example, cash discounts at the doctor. Independent clinics face massive insurance billing overhead, and they often end up waiting weeks just to get paid. Offering upfront cash removes all this bloat, and many will quietly offer a professional courtesy discount in return. Trick 9 is prepayment leverage. Upfront cash for contractors or freelancers means zero receivables risk, giving them the literal financial oxygen to start your project today. Number 10 is vendor direct payment. Bypassing distributors and paying a supplier directly with cash cuts out the middleman's commission entirely. Trick 11 is the tip to negotiate move. Leaving a really generous cash tip on a first visit builds tremendous relationship capital. That translates into negotiating goodwill and priority service down the line. Finally, Trick 12, the barter-adjacent hybrid. Combining a majority cash payment with a small service or favor anchors the transaction in seriousness while simultaneously building a real human connection.
Which brings us to Section 4, psychological closers and the heavy weight of tangible money. These final 3 tricks, they don't just rely on economics, they rely heavily on the visual impact and the actual physical choreography of the negotiation itself. Trick 13 is the cash envelope method. Now, while this might sound like just a simple budgeting tip, it's actually absolutely vital negotiation prep. Before digital apps took over, people physically allocated funds into different envelopes. By walking into a negotiation with a specific envelope of cash, you are setting a hard physical boundary. You simply cannot stretch your budget or emotionally overspend because the physical limit is right there in your hands. It forces clarity and establishes a hard ceiling that the seller ultimately has to respect.
Okay, for Trick 14, we literally need to slow things down. This is the stack and count. You don't just quickly hand the money over. No, you place neat stacks of bills on the counter. You count the bills, slowly. You let the seller watch the exact amount materialize right in front of them. This strategic pause and visual commitment relies heavily on anticipated regret. The seller watches that stack grow and suddenly realizes that if they say no, that real physical money goes right back into your pocket. It forces a binary decision and uses silence to your absolute advantage.
And our final trick, number 15, the final offer cash drop. After all the exhausting back and forth haggling, you present the final cash amount calmly. You state your boundary clearly, saying something like, "This is what I have today." And then you just leave quiet space for yes or no. Sellers absolutely hate limbo and pending deals. A clean, physical cash resolution collapses all of that noise. It's like the quiet period at the end of a sentence, and historically, it is an incredibly effective way to close.
So let's pivot to Section 5, the credit card illusion and the pattern break.
You might be wondering, if these 15 tricks are literally so powerful, why on earth did we stop using them? Well, we have to look at the quiet revolution of the digital dollar. When you hand over physical paper bills, a part of your brain called the insular cortex, which is the region associated with pain and loss, actually lights up. It causes hesitation. It creates physical friction. That pause is your financial governor. But a card swipe? It's totally abstract, ghost-like, and deferred. It activates your brain's reward centers without any of the sting of loss. When the physical sensation of spending is removed, the pain disappears, and we simply stop counting.
Just look at the numbers here. It's wild how this impacts our behavior. The average spending increases are staggering. Using a debit card pushes spending up by 12% compared to using cash. Credit cards push it up to 18%, and frictionless mobile pay increases spending by an amazing 22%. When spending stops feeling real, your accountability and your instinct to negotiate completely disappear. Think about it. Why haggle over $20 when the terminal just auto-calculates and the card glides right through? The entire payment ecosystem was designed to remove friction because friction reduces their volume and their fees.
And that brings us to our final section, reclaiming your power, because friction is actually feedback.
The pendulum is finally starting to shift back, and it's not out of some sort of nostalgia, but out of strategic financial awareness. Remember this, friction isn't the enemy. Friction is feedback, and feedback is leverage. You don't have to abandon digital payments entirely, but strategically returning to cash for specific purchases forces you to really evaluate worth. So the next time you're about to blindly tap a screen for a major purchase, I want you to ask yourself, is the convenience of the invisible dollar actually costing you a premium? And what kind of deal are you leaving on the table simply because you didn't stop at the ATM?